We are in week 3 of a series that we're calling Bliss. And bliss is defined as the state of total happiness. And we said, give us 4 weeks, we will empower your marriage. And so we've been learning some good stuff about marriage, but this is also very applicable if you're not currently married. I've had people say, I'm not married, but this is helping me. I had a few people say, I was married, don't want to be again, but it's good stuff. So wherever you fall at, under those things, you might have a great marriage, a struggling marriage. I believe this is healing stuff. So bliss is the state of total happiness. Week 1, we entitled our teaching Fixer Upper, and we learned that bliss doesn't just happen. It comes from a healing journey, but you can find it and you can refind it. And then last weekend, we did a message called Friends with Benefits, and we said this, that bliss, the perfect picture of bliss is actually oneness, and oneness is the goal we should be always shooting for, the goal we should be living for. And if we fail to come into bliss status, we often stay in a disappointed place. So that's where we've been for a few weeks, and I want to make this announcement about next Sunday. So we have one more week in this series, but we're going to come off of this series next week, because next week, live in both of our experiences, we're going to have the local chapter of Teen Challenge here with us in our experience. They're going to be sharing testimonies of deliverance and power, and that's next Sunday. Then we'll come back and we'll wrap it up the Sunday after that, the first Sunday in October. So make sure you come next week, come with somebody. And how many know we definitely have a very difficult and challenging crisis in our area with the drug problem that we have. And the statistics, this may not be exactly accurate, but it's something like this, that the government statistic of overcoming addiction, their success rate is a whopping 4%. But Teen Challenge's statistic for overcoming addiction is like in the 80s, high 80s. We obviously know why, but they're going to be with us next weekend. Then we'll wrap this series up the 1st of October. And so make sure you come out next week. Bring somebody with you. It's going to be an awesome time. And in 1988, there was a TV commercial that aired. Now, a lot of people didn't know anything about this brand at the time. It was a struggling business, and their marketers had to convince them to go with this slogan, but they finally caved in and gave into the slogan. But this TV ad showed an 80-some-year-old man running a marathon, and the goal of the TV ad was to say that you can get up off your couch and do the same thing. And so they came up with this little slogan on this TV ad that you probably see everywhere, and it was, just do it. How many know if you see that, you automatically think of, they were a struggling business at the time. Now they're a multi-million-dollar or billion-dollar business, and it all started with that ad and that slogan, which is just do it. And this morning, that's the title of my message, and I want to share with you this morning, first of all, what that it is here in a few moments, and tell you that one of the secrets of bliss is to just do it. Everyone say it. But I'd like to start off and help you out. I like to talk to all the wives for a moment, and I'm going to tell you how to impress your husband. And then husbands, I'm going to give you a guaranteed way to impress your wife. So let's start by talking to the husbands first of all. Husbands, here's how you impress your wife. Real simple, here's the only thing you have to do. You have to wine her, dine her, call her, hug her, support her, hold her, surprise her, compliment her, smile at her, listen to her, laugh with her, cry with her, romance her, encourage her, believe in her, pray with her, pray for her, cuddle with her, shop with her, give her jewelry, buy her flowers, hold her hand, write her love letters, and go to the end of the earth and back again for her. Guys, that's all it takes to impress your wife. Wives, here's how you impress your husband. You show up naked, bring pizza, and don't block the TV. That's how you impress your husbands. Let's pray and we'll be dismissed. Okay. Actually, the way that you impress your spouse is by the way that you serve his or her needs. And so to just do it this morning, it's all about this idea of serving. And so let's go to John chapter 13. And although I know you've heard messages on this particular scripture before, as I read through this, just keep your heart open to what God wants to say to us this morning. And so the Bible says in verse number 3, John chapter 13, Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands and that he had actually come from God and was going back to God, he rose up from supper. He laid aside his garments. He took a towel and girded himself. After that, he poured water into a basin and he started to wash the feet of the disciples and to wipe them with the towel that he was girded. Then he came to Simon Peter, and Peter said, Lord, are you washing my feet? Jesus said, what I am doing you do not understand now, but you will know after this. And Peter said to him, you shall never wash my feet. And Jesus said, if I do not wash you, you have no part with me. And Simon Peter said to him, Lord, then not only my feet, but my hands and my head. And Jesus said, he who is bathed needs only to wash his feet, but is completely clean. And you are clean, but not all of you. For he knew who would betray him. Therefore he said, you are not all clean. So when he had washed their feet, he took his garments and he sat down again. And he said, do you know what I have done to you? You have called me teacher and Lord, and you say, well, for so I am. If I then am your Lord and teacher, and I've washed your feet, you should also wash one another's feet. Verse 15, for I have given you this example that you should do as I have done to you. Most assuredly, I say this to you, a servant is no greater than his master, nor is he who is sent greater than he who sent him. If you know these things, you are blessed if you do them. Incredible story that Jesus, right before his earthly life came to an end, was at supper. And the tradition, the culture of that time would be when you entered a home for a dinner, there would be a servant there who would wash the feet of the guests because of the dirty roads, the dusty roads. And if the servant wasn't at the door, usually the first one to arrive would do so, but it was not common for a master to grab a towel and a bucket of water and to begin to wash the feet of his disciples. But yet that's exactly what Jesus did. The one who probably did not at all need to be washing feet was the one who did wash feet. And he went around as he washed feet. Peter's like, no, I'm not worthy for you to wash my feet. And Jesus said, I'm going to serve you by washing your feet. And Peter said, then wash all of me. And Jesus said, I don't need to wash all of you. I just need to wash your feet. And this is a perfect picture of humility. It's a perfect picture of servanthood. And Jesus went on and he said this, if you really follow me, if you're a Christ follower, if you're going to be a believer, he said, then you need to do what I just did. I gave you an example. And so Jesus gave us this incredible example that we act most like Jesus when we're what? Obeying him by being a servant. And whether you are a single person, a married person, married, want to be married, don't want to be married, this is one of the highest things we can do is to act like Jesus, and that's to grab a towel and wash someone's feet. Now, he's not talking about literally, he's talking about serving people. And in the context of marriage, this is one of the key ingredients that opens the door for us to be in bliss, which is a state of becoming happy in your marriage. Now, Jesus said, do this because I did it. And he said, if you do it, you'll be blessed. Everyone say blessed. So we find this out that being a servant is actually the key to opening up the door to the blessings of God. He said, you will be blessed. Say it again, blessed. So the word blessed here means 4 different things. First of all, it means you will have success. So one of the keys to success is to, guess what? Be a servant. And Jesus said the greatest people in the kingdom are the least in people's eyes because they're just servants. So the first thing blessed means is that we'll be successful. The second thing it means that we will be financially prosperous. One of the doors to prosperity is, guess what? Serving. The third thing that the word blessed means here is it means that you will be, you'll have fertility or you'll be fruitful. Okay, I know what some of you are thinking. I don't want to be fertile anymore, right? But some of you do. It means to be fruitful. So think about serving opens the door to success, prosperity, fertility, and then longevity. So if you take that and put it into the context of marriage, think about those 4 areas. Obviously, you all want a successful marriage. Well, how do you do that? You serve each other. Everyone wants to be successful. Everyone wants to be prosperous. If you want to have prosperity in your marriage, grab a towel and be a servant. If you want to have fruitfulness in your marriage, guess what? Grab a towel, be a servant. If you want to have longevity, a good, long, successful, prosperous, fruitful marriage, what do? You grab a towel and you become a servant. Jesus taught us this example. And so the just do it part this morning is the it part is this, just be a servant. Jesus teaches us one of the greatest lessons here. Be a servant like he was. Actually, the Bible said he emptied himself of everything that made him God, and he came to earth and he took on the form of what? Serving. That's how you open the door to what I call bliss status or the bliss level, and that's by just being willing to serve your spouse. Now, I think there are 5 levels of what I call marital satisfaction, 5 different levels. The first level is, we'll just call it dissatisfaction. And there could be someone watching on live stream, there could be someone in this room, and you would say, right now, my marriage is pretty dissatisfying. And see, in a dissatisfied marriage, your needs aren't met, your spouse's needs aren't met, and really you're consumed with your own wants, needs, and desires. And so you're not thinking about the other person. Very selfish marriage. And there are a lot of marriages in that condition, and it's a very, we'll just call that dissatisfaction. And I'll just say this, that good marriages happen on purpose. You don't accidentally just, I'm marrying the right person and we're just happy. Actually, I would say it this way, that if you don't work at your marriage won't work. Somebody tweet that. That was a good one. Let's say that again. Put my name on it though when you tweet that. If you don't work on your marriage, guess what? Marriage won't work. And so there's dissatisfaction. The next level is disappointment. So there are some needs being met, but you're not really thriving and flourishing with meeting each other's needs, but so there's this disappointment there. You're not dissatisfied, but you are disappointed. Then there's the third level where a lot of marriages stay, and it's just what we call contentment. In other words, most of your basic needs are met, and you're generally meeting the needs of your spouse, and they're generally meeting your needs, and you've just settled on being content. And there are a lot of marriages that stay right there. So dissatisfied, disappointment, contentment. Then there's the fourth level, which we're just going to call happiness. And at the happiness level, your needs are met, her needs are met, his needs are met, all the basic stuff is met, and overall, it's a happy marriage. I mean, that's a good place to be. But I want you to know there's another level, we'll call it bliss. And bliss is where needs are met, and now you've moved into meeting desires. And you may not have known this, but in Psalm chapter 37, God is all for your desires being met. So he's for your desires as a couple being met. He's for your desires as an individual being met. And so we have dissatisfaction, disappointment, contentment, happiness, or there's actually the fifth level, which is bliss, where God wants you to meet each other's desires. Actually, it's at this level we could say this, that you live to please your spouse. So let's make some life points this morning. If I told you this morning, that I guarantee your marriage will thrive, it will be in bliss status if you make a commitment from this point on to serve each other. That being our context, I would say this, first of all, that bliss requires 2 very selfless servants. It's the only way to live in bliss status or on the bliss level is that we have 2 people that are selfless servants. And here's what that means. That you serve your spouse even when they don't deserve it, even when you don't feel like it. It's out of love, it's out of faith. Now, how many of us, just take a poll here, how many of you ever had those times when just in your mind, your spouse, they got it going on, they've been awesome, they've been such a blessing, you're just like, man, I am just blessed. I just want to serve them because they're just awesome. How many have had those moments? 3 people. That's why we're doing this series, y'all. That's why we're doing it. But how many of you had those other times when you're like, you know what? They are annoying me right now. Maybe you've forgotten why you were attracted to them because all you can see is the annoyances, and they surely do not deserve your servanthood right now because they have had a bad attitude. They are seeing life from a different perspective, and really right now, you don't want to serve them. You don't even want to see them. Anyone ever had one of those moments? There's several hands went up on that one. Well, you know what, guys? Serving is not dependent on their deserving. Because Jesus washed the feet of his disciples and they didn't deserve it. A servant is the one who says, you know what? I'm going to be the bigger person. I'm going to serve first. Now here's a great thought for you. Jesus had an awesome crew that he went and ministered with. But do you know at that supper who was in line that got their feet washed? Was Judas, the one who sold out Jesus to be crucified. And that's who Jesus was talking about. There's one in here who's not clean. And yet Jesus knew, although he did not deserve it, even though Jesus knew he was about to betray him, what did Jesus do? He didn't skip over him and be like, behind me, Satan. What did he do? He washed the feet of the person who really did not deserve it. And you know what? Sometimes, I'll be real honest with you, there are times I love to serve my wife and she deserves it. And I'll tell you what, there are times she doesn't deserve it. But that's not the time to say, well, if you'd act a little better, I'd serve you. Those are the times a servant serves first. They're a bigger person, and they serve first. I heard this incredible story, and you may totally just turn this story off, but I want you to hear what happened in this story. This story I heard from Pastor Jimmy Evans of Marriage Today, and he said a lady had come to him for counseling, and when she came to him, he said, so tell me your situation. And she said, well, I've been married for several years. My husband's a hardworking businessman. Every day he comes home from work, does his few things at home, and he goes to his mistress's house every night. This has been going on for years. So he's married to me. We have kids together. And he has this mistress on the side that she knew about. This went on for years. And she said, I'm tired of this. And so the counselor said to her, he said, well, you have every biblical reason to walk away from this marriage. Scripturally, you have reasons to divorce him. And he said, that's what I would recommend that you do unless you want to save your marriage. She goes, no, I don't want to end my marriage. I want to heal my marriage. He said, then here's what you need to do. You need to go home, make his favorite meal, turn on his favorite channel, and just begin to serve him. Serve him practically, serve him sexually, serve him in every way, and just watch your marriage be healed. And she said, did you hear what I told you when I came in? He was cheating on me. I know he has a mistress. He said, well, you can either leave him and you have scriptural rights, or if you want to heal it, I'm telling you, the way that you heal it is you just go home and serve. So she went home and she just started serving him. Just serving his needs, even though he did not deserve it, and just kept serving him. And the story had a crazy outcome. Eventually, he came to his senses, got rid of his mistress, came back to his wife, started to become a great dad, a great husband, and then it got so much he walked in, he said, I don't know what you told my wife, but tell me what to do for my wife, because now he wanted to serve her. And God completely healed that marriage, all because of the principle of serving. Now here's what I want you to get from that. If you're like me, you hear that first of all, and like, I would not be serving that dude. Come on. I'll show you the door. That's how I'll serve you, right? But look at the power of serving. Now, she had every right, and God would not have had a problem if she would have said, scripturally, you have broken our covenant, so I'm divorcing you. But she just decided to serve him when he least deserved it. Now, I want you to remember this. Man, if you don't hear anything, hear this. In your life, any spirit that you might be dealing with, the way that you deal with a spirit is with the opposite spirit. Here's what I mean by that. If you're dealing with a spirit of fear, how do you deal with it? Faith. If you're dealing with a spirit of selfishness, how do you deal with it? Selflessness. To do the opposite of what spirit you're dealing with will break the power of that spirit. And I know what you're thinking. That just doesn't seem like the normal way to do things. Well, the scripture says God's ways are actually way higher than our ways. So Jesus, normal in that setting would have been they would have served Jesus, but Jesus said, wait a minute, let me grab a towel. I'm going to wash your feet. And in your marriage, you know what? The hard thing to do might be the serving thing, but it's the thing that has power, that will unlock success, prosperity, fruitfulness, and longevity. That's why I say that in marriage, if you want to get to bliss level, bliss status, and you really know what bliss is, it's peace. I'm pretty confident I can say this. In marriage, I think that you would mortgage your house for a jar of peace. I think in your life, you'd sell the farm for a bottle of peace. In the world we live in today, I think you would sell a kidney for a jar of peace in your life. And what Jesus is saying is really what brings bliss is to have peace in your marriage, peace in your life, peace. And how do you do that? Two selfless people committed to serving. Second thing I want you to get this morning is this, that bliss is actually the result of serving each other with focused sensitivity. So it takes two selfless people committed to serving, but then we serve with what I call focused sensitivity. And here's what I mean by that. I believe there are three areas. See, I'm the kind of guy like, okay, I get it, serve, just tell me how to do that. Well, I'm going to tell you how to do that. There are three specific areas that we serve each other in, and here's why we serve in these three specific areas. Because these three specific areas, we cannot be satisfied ourselves by these three areas. It takes God and or our spouse. And the first area, so how do I serve? The first area would be, if you serve spiritually, you'll get spiritual gratification. We're to serve each other spiritually. Matter of fact, I would say this to you, that the deepest level of intimacy is spiritual intimacy. It's the deepest level of intimacy. Actually, serving each other spiritually actually means this: I'm submitting to God. Unsubmission to God means we're not serving each other spiritually. So what would it look like if we served each other spiritually? Well, first of all, let me talk to the dudes in the house. If you know anything about the Bible, it says you're the leader of your family. And guys, we stick our chest out about that. We're like, that's right, woman, I'm the leader. Actually, in the correct language, it means that you are her Lord. So I've told my wife, we're going to have a new title. You come home, just call me Lord Aaron. And that went over really well. It's really what it means. But so we stick our chest out like, that's right, woman. But that's not really, it means we're to lead our families with spiritual sensitivity. And just stick your chest back in, because what it means is there's a mantle of responsibility. And so, guys, here's how we would serve our wives and our families spiritually. The first thing, just let me say to you, is you need to lead in prayer. You need to lead your family in prayer, praying for, praying with your family. And I know, guys, sometimes it's hard. It's just our makeup. And this is how you just learn to pray with and for your family. You just man up. Dude, you just man up. There's no secret formula. You just man up. And you say, well, how do I do that? Well, let me help you with this. The Bible says in Philippians, it says, don't worry about things, but pray about everything. So he said, what do we pray about? You want to know what you pray about? Your worry list is your prayer list. You know how the rest of that verse goes? It says, if you don't worry and you pray, the Bible says, where you touch and agree, God meets those things, and he brings perfect peace that's beyond understanding. So what God guarantees is when you come together with your spouse or your family and you pray and you touch and agree, God is there and God answers. And so there may be some things stressing. The Bible says, don't be anxious. It's another word for stress. And I believe this, that God is too big for you to live in stress. And when you come together and just pray on it, too, in covenant, touch and agree, God moves in the midst of that. So dads, I just want to challenge you. Just start, it could be on the way out the door. Hey, let's pray real quick. Here's another thing I believe, guys, we need to lead in. You need to lead by being in church. I have read through the whole Bible. I'm not saying that arrogantly. I just said I've read through it, right? I'm a pastor. That's what I'm supposed to do, right? So I've read through it. And I can't find anywhere where it says, dads, drop your kids off at church. Just send them to church. Because here's how guys think, well, I don't have to be in church to follow Jesus. Actually, the Bible actually says you have to be in church to follow Jesus. It actually says that. Because we think some weird things and we repeat them sometimes. It actually says, as you see the days approaching, don't disconnect. Get there often. And we're in the days, just let me tell you, they are not approaching. They have approached. So be in church. And don't just be in church, but serve in church. You know why we have weak churches today? Because we have a lot of men who won't serve and they won't show up for church. And the women are having to fill in their spots. So I want to challenge, guys, man up. Look at someone next to you. If there's a man around you, point at him and say, man up, dude. It's like Pastor Aaron said. Or if it's a woman, look at her and say, woman up, dude. Women, how do we serve our husbands spiritually? Well, the Bible said God made her to be your partner. So pray for your husband. Pray for the spiritual climate of your house. So you're to serve each other spiritually, and it'll bring spiritual gratification. And we also, the second area is we serve each other sexually. It'll bring sexual satisfaction. And I would say this about serving each other sexually. Here's what they say, that most stress in marriage in this area is because someone thinks that everyone else is having better sex than you are, and your sex isn't good. That's what they say most of your stress is over it, and they're wrong. Here's what I would say. Sex is the thermostat and the thermometer of your marriage. It's the sign that you have a good marriage. Everyone knows the difference between a thermostat and a thermometer, right? And the thermometer tells you the temperature. The thermostat sets the temperature. So it is actually the thermostat and the thermometer of your marriage. And so another way that you serve your spouse is sexually. And so most people think, well, you know, I'm hot, she's hot, and we have burning passion and it just works. Well, how many know, they say that very rarely will you both have hot, burning moments at the same time. When it does, I mean, put your crown on, you know, get your medal, but it doesn't always happen like that. But you serve each other in those areas, right? So there is spiritual gratification, sexual satisfaction, and the last one is emotional fulfillment. Emotional fulfillment. Now, if you've been to some of our marriage stuff, you know some of these things, but ladies, guys, they say that your wife has 4 basic needs. And I'm going to give those to you. And guys, you have 4 basic needs, and then we'll wrap this up. Ladies have these 4 basic needs. Their top need is security. Everything she hears is through this filter of security or trust. This is why, guys, you will probably hear frequently, do you love me? Guys, how many have heard that? You keep getting that question, do you really love me? And you're thinking, hey, we got married that day. I said I do. I loved you. If I change my mind, I'll let you know, right? But she needs to keep hearing. And the more you serve that need, the less she's going to ask you that question. But it is an innate need that she has inside of herself for security. Here's the rest of the needs that she has. She has a need for communication, to talk. And I will tell you that there are 2 distinct differences in this comment I'm about to make to you. There are times when my wife will say to me, hey, do you want to talk? I'm like, yeah, let's talk. Then it's said a different way, and I'll give you the different way. And here's the different way. Hey, we need to talk. How many know there's a difference in those 2 things? Hey, do you want to talk? Sure, let's grab a coffee. We need to talk. I'm thinking, oh, stink, what did I do? What did I not do? But she has this need to talk. And if you're not talking, your marriage isn't working. So she has this need for communication. She has this need for security. She also has a need for affirmation, specifically non-sexual affirmation. She needs to be held. She needs to be complimented. She needs to be touched in a non-sexual way. And the last thing she has a need for is leadership. Now, I am not saying that women can't be leaders. I'm not saying that at all. But I am saying that God put something in ladies to be supportive, to be helpers, to help your family. Do you know that that the Holy Spirit is also called what? The helper. The Holy Spirit, now please understand me, let me say this right. God is all parts, right? So he's Father, Son, and he's Holy Spirit. So if we're made in the image of God, there's a masculine side and there's a feminine side to God. I'm not saying God's a woman. Don't run out of here and say that. But there's, in the feminine side of God is the Holy Spirit side, because the Holy Spirit is a helper. And the Bible said that wives were made to be what? A helper. She helps like the Holy Spirit helps. But she does have a need for leaders. So she has those 4 basic needs, which are security, communication, affirmation, and leadership. A man also has 4 needs. So husbands, your responsibility is to serve those 4 needs. When I found that out, I'm like, hey, I can do those 4 things. How many know when you simplify it, that's the 4 areas I can serve her best in. I can do that. Guys have 4 needs as well. Their top need is honor. or respect. The top need every man has is for respect or honor. Matter of fact, you ask a guy if he would rather be honored or loved, you know what he would choose? I'd rather be respected. That's why, women, the worst thing you can do is disrespect your husband. The worst thing you could do is talk him down. The worst thing you could do is disrespect him. That's his top need. He sees everything through the filter of respect. Second need that every man has is a sexual need. It's innate in men. There's a sexual need. And girls, I know what you're thinking. Ladies, what you're thinking. He wants sex all the time. He's got issues. He's a pervert. Here's what I want you to hear. God put that in him. Here's why. It's what keeps returning him to you. Because you're to meet that need in his life. It's something God put in him. A couple other needs that men have. Men have a need for connection. Basically, what men want is they want their wives. See, back when you were dating, what you did is you guys went places together. You went to ball games together. You did stuff together. And see, men want that connection or they want that friendship. I told the first crowd this morning, here's really what men want. They want a buddy in a skirt. That's really what they want, a fishing buddy in a skirt. That's really what they want. But they want you to enjoy the things they enjoy. And the last thing that men have a need for is a healthy home environment. Now, I'm not saying you have to be Martha Stewart, but he wants a tranquil place. In other words, God, he's the king of the castle. He wants a tranquil, peaceful place at home. And so that's how you serve your husband. That's how you serve your wife. And I would put it this way, that you live to please your spouse. So let me give you this last point, but let me just review real quick what we've said today. Jesus said, serve like I serve and you'll be blessed. And God wants to move you from needs being met to desires being met. That's the state of total happiness. That's bliss. But it takes two selfless servants. And they have to be serving each other very with focused sensitivity. And the last thing I would say to you is that bliss will remain as long as each spouse continues to sacrifice for the other. Now, if you were getting ready to go on a trip or a journey, you would pack the car, you would have the snacks, you'd have the GPS programmed in, and you would stop and you would fuel up your car with gas or fuel. Somewhere along that journey, you're going to have to stop at the gas station and refuel your vehicle. It's the same thing in your marriage. It continues, you're going to continue to have to keep her tank full or his tank full if your journey is going to be successful. And how you do that is you serve each other spiritually, you serve each other sexually, and you serve each other emotionally. You're living to please them and to serve them. How many got something good out this morning? The highest, I want to thank both of you for making me feel real good about the time and effort I put into that. Our heart is to empower and equip you to be able to have a successful, blissful marriage. And we got one more week in this, not next week, but the week after. Here's the title. It's called The Fight Club. You don't want to miss The Fight Club. We're going to end this series. But I've been doing something at the end of each one of these messages, and that is I have been bringing a couple up from our church just to show you guys that there are great marriages in our church, and there are marriages that have been through some things, and there's marriages that have worked on some things. And so, one, it lets us know successful marriages. Number two, it lets us know, man, if they work through some things, so can I. So I'm going to ask Jason and Tammy if they will join me here on stage for the last few moments. And this is Jason and Tammy Martin. And I think you said you have been married for 20 years? 20 years, two teenage sons, been together for 2,500 years. So. And so, got a couple questions for Jason and for Tammy. The first question is this, you both seem to have a pretty fun marriage. What are the strengths of your relationship?
Well, I see some strengths that we genuinely just love each other. We really enjoy just being together as a couple, and there is sacrifice on both sides. Like, you like to go do things, maybe not fishing with a skirt on, but you like to do some stuff that I like to do. And
as long as you don't have the skirt on when you're fishing.
Well, sometimes, I pull it up, put the fish in it,
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
No, anyways, sidetrack. But yeah, we just really enjoy each other, and I mean, at this point in our life, just what God's brought us through and what's brought us out, really strengthened us as a couple, and of course, we love vacationing together and just being together and just genuinely having fun together. I think just doing life together should be fun. It shouldn't be miserable, and if it is miserable, something's going on. So,
like I said earlier, you said we've been together almost 25 years, and I still look at us as those 18-year-olds that were dating, and we enjoy still doing things that we did when we were 18 years old. And it's just, we've kept the fun in our marriage, I guess, is what you would say, and just really respect one another and enjoy each other's company.
Good.
Well, I think James Taylor said it. It's like, what's the secret of life? Enjoying the moments.
Yeah.
Enjoying the moments. So, I don't know. Anyways, James
Cool.
Taylor plug.
Cool. Well, I see your Facebook. It looks like you have a lot of fun. Always at the beach or on a bike or something. Anyways, okay, so next question is, I know from talking to you guys that you've had some challenges in your marriage. And so the question is, what were those challenges? Why do you think those challenges happened?
Well, first of all, I just want to really thank you, Pastor Aaron, and this church. When you sent those questions to us, I was like on Friday. I was a nervous wreck. I ain't gonna lie, and you're gonna see why here in a minute. But when I was coming in this morning, it has welcome home inside the church building, and I thought, that's cool because that's where you can be transparent. Home is where you can kind of let your hair down. I don't know if that really makes sense, but that's what you hear, right? But you can be really transparent and be really open with your families, and so this is me being really, really transparent. I'm all nervous. I'm swinging my legs around. So, I had an emotional affair a couple times with some coworkers that was outside of our marriage, of course. And it was, honestly, I can look at it and say, I'm not sure how I ended up where I was at. I mean, the first time I wasn't saved and really wasn't in church. Second time I was, I knew better. I knew better than this. And I think it was, honestly, looking at it now, of course, hindsight is 20/20. If the devil can just get your attention a little bit, if he can just distract you a little bit, I kind of made it if you're back in the day and you fight with swords and stuff, you have, protect your partner's back. You guys would go back to back and fight. That way the enemy can't attack you from the back. And that's what a marriage is. You're protecting each other. But if you stray and look away, you're opening yourself up to the schemes of the devil. And I mean, let's face it, his ultimate plan is to just disrupt the kingdom of God and just try to break marriages, because God makes marriages. And if he can rip those marriages apart, he thinks he's winning, but we all know he loses. But I was distracted, and the next thing I know, I'm catching compliments from someone I don't even know. It's like, and as a guy, you want that, oh yeah. And then I kind of described it like the enemy putting a collar on you, like a dog. You put a collar on a dog. That's how you're going to lead someone or going to leash them up. So, it wasn't a big deal. Next thing I know, I ended up with this collar on my neck, and then next thing you know, it's like you gave your phone number away, so there's another link on it, and you did this, there's another link on it. And next thing you know, the enemy's got you. He's ripping you away from a marriage that could be building the kingdom, but of course his plan is to just destroy the marriage. And like I said, it's complete strangers. Why are you taking compliments from a complete stranger? And but yeah, I mean, it was tough. I mean, I will say that, God done for me what I couldn't do for myself. He, in the midst of all this, he came and severed the chains off of this. He's the one who broke these chains off of it. Because, I was connected and I just was getting drugged around, and I was living two different lives. And, God put some people in my life. It's like these dudes that showed up, like one guy's not even from around here, just shows up in my life and just starts sharing his testimony with me on a bike ride one day. And it's like, oh my gosh, God put him in my life to break this off of me. And man, Trey's ever listened, man. Thank you, Trey. Just God bless you, man, because I needed that at that moment. But yeah, and honestly, you guys, if you guys ever feel like the enemy has a collar on you and he's yanking you around, God's saying, hey, I didn't put that around your neck. You don't have to own that, So I'm just really thankful that I was able to get away from it. I'm thankful to my wife that, you know, she's forgave me. I mean, it's the first thing. When I came clean, I was like, hey, I just got to, you know, Pastor Diane just was talking. It's like, you know, it's a relieving thing to just be like, you know what, I'm going to be really honest with you, no matter how bad it hurts. And I'm just going to be real honest and just tell you what's going on. And even these questions, when you send them to us, like on Friday night, it just felt like, you know, like road rash. Like, Stephen, you know what road rash feels like. And you got a big Band-Aid over it, and you're thinking, oh, it's going to heal up, you know. But sometimes you got to rip it off to get some air exposed to the wound. It's just this is me just really airing it out. And so, yeah. What do you got?
It's kind of like his story, but I was part of it. And just like he said, he was saved the second time, and we have been in marriage ministries, like helping lead people and stuff. So I was kind of the impression, like, how could you let this happen, knowing that you're telling other married couples like what not to do, and you're not even following what you're saying? But it was just the enemy, like, putting this person in front of him. And like the word says, you know, your adversary is like the devil is prowls around like a roaring lion seeking someone to devour. And the devil will send temptation in the form of a human, and that's what happened. And you know, the enemy knew an area of weakness that Jason had, and sent this person into his life, and it took a hold of him. But I'm thankful that we didn't let that destroy our marriage, and we can use what happened between us and allow God to use that to help others. And I have said that. I know some people say, like, how can you just forgive him and just move on? It's like, Jesus forgave me for everything, and how can I not extend that wholeheartedly to him? So, and I've said, you know, if Jesus can use what we've been through to help someone else, it's all worth it. Honestly, it is, because the healing and restoration that's taken place in our marriage. And, you know, another thing, we don't want to see this happen in our kids' life. We don't want to see our kids have to walk through things that we walked through. And we just want to be a light in the darkness and share our story. And like he said, if you have something you're going through and you want to share it, and we're here to talk to you. I mean, we can be more in detail with things with you, but
you said something that I know we all hear. We all know, like, we have to forgive. But in that situation, in the midst of your feelings and all of that, how do you forgive? I mean, the Bible says it's a faith thing. So how do you, when you're hurt and confused, and what did forgiveness look like?
Well, to be honest with you, at first, the flesh wants to say, hey, this has happened twice. Don't do this. Don't be stupid. Don't fall back into all that. And it's like, no, that's not what God says, and that's not what Jesus did for me. So I had to automatically, when he asked me to forgive him, I looked at him and said, I forgive you wholeheartedly. I do. But I'll be totally honest with you. We do have a marriage group that we lead, and last semester we were on a subject on forgiveness. And the enemy started playing with me, and I started having these feelings like, have I truly forgave him? And it's like, my spirit was saying, yes, you have, but my mind was trying to tell me otherwise. So I sought, counsel with Pastor Diane, and she reassured me, honey, you forgave him, but your heart needs to heal. Maybe you haven't your heart has not completely healed from this, so it's a healing process on yours too. But it's been 4 years, and I can honestly say, after counsel with her and being openly open with him Friday night, I don't want to say spewing it, but there was things that I've had in me for 4 years that I was not afraid to say. I just didn't want to put any more pain on him. I didn't want him to feel shame anymore. I didn't want him to have pain, because I love him, and I don't want him to feel that. But I also know that things that are bothering you, if you can openly share them with your spouse especially, there's freedom in that, because then the enemy can't use that against you anymore. He can't use that in your mind. So yes, forgiveness, I feel, is automatic, but the sense of rebuilding trust and everything, it's a process.
Sure.
And it still is a process still today, but he does an amazing job proving himself. So
yeah, it's not always the easiest thing when you're on my side of the fence here to rebuild that and just be accountable 100 and I don't know percent, 10%, I don't know, but yeah, I do thank you for forgiving me and making this relationship work, and it's better than ever now, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
So the last question, I think, will go right with what you guys are saying is, how have you both learned to work through the challenges to protect and make things better in your marriage?
I mean, like for me, totally, like I went to a few guys I work with, and I was like, listen, this is where I'm at. This is what happened. I need some accountability partners. You see me acting goofy or something like that, I need someone to hold me accountable. Like, hey, what's going on with you? You don't seem, you know what I mean? Because there's signs, right? I mean, there's signs. And you know, I need people when I'm not at home, when I'm not with my wife, to keep me accountable. And I'm thankful for those men of God that does that for me. And but yeah, our relationship is just it's flourishing, and we, you know, I think, you know, when you're on the, you know, I've heard a description like the mountaintop is when everything's great, but then you get down to the valleys, but the valleys is where all the nutrients are, you know what I mean? All the good stuff is down there, and you're going to learn from something. I learned from this thing, and I know the plan of the enemy now. I know that if he can just get me looking away from my spouse just for a few minutes, you know, twinkle something in my eye to try to get me, you know, detoured just for a second, and it's like now it's like instant. It's like that's the enemy trying to mess with me, and I'm not going to. I don't have to own that. I don't have to claim that. I mean, Jesus says no. So,
Yeah, well, I appreciate you guys sharing in front of everybody. Like we say all the time, we're a church, not a courtroom. So I just want people to know that we've got marriages that have worked through stuff, have had to forgive, had to heal, and I just told them, share what you want and no more. You know, don't feel like you have to share all the details, but don't give them a hand for just being willing to share. So let's all stand, and I'm going to ask Jason if he'll do what we've done each week, and I'm going to ask him to pray for you. If you are standing there with your spouse, you could grab their hand, and I'm going to ask that he would just speak a blessing over you guys and pray. And I believe when we've been through some stuff, our prayers come from a very authentic, been there, done that, got the T-shirt kind of place. And so I'm going to ask him just to, if he'd pray for them.
Heavenly Father, just thank you for today, Lord. Just thank you for this church and just the people in this church, and thank you for a place that we could be transparent with one another. And Father, I pray for every married couple in this building right now, Lord. I just pray that you just speak healing and restoration of their life, or anything that's going on. And Father, I just know that you're just going to continue to move on us, Lord. And I ask you just to break those chains off. And Father, I just ask you to live in a new level of freedom, Father. And Father, I just ask everything in Jesus' name. Amen.